are you? Okay. So the title of this talk is Why I Abandon All Other Social Networks for Google+, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about. Notice there's no slides, there's no presentation. I'm not doing that. This is not a step-by-step guide of how Google+ works and all the great features. I figure you can figure that kind of stuff out on your own. Nor am I here to tell you why you should be on Google+, because I don't care whether you're on Google+ or not. You being involved in Google+ does not increase my enjoyment of Google+ one bit, and that's one of the reasons why I love it. However, you could prove me wrong and get on there and do something really great and fantastic, but I don't need you to be there because I'm out of people. It's not what's happening whatsoever. So my name is Evo Terra, for those that don't know me, yeah, I've been involved in the social media stuff for a very long time, kind of since the beginning. I got involved in podcasting very, very early. Was the 40th podcaster ever. I've written a couple of books in the For Dummies series about podcasting. Early on, every possible social network you can imagine. At one time, I counted them up, and I had 89 different social media profiles. But I never used more than a handful of those, and today that handful is shrinking significantly down because there's really only one that I've gravitated to for the last, better part of a year, and that has been Google+. And I'm here to tell you why I did that. But as an interesting exercise, what I thought we might do, for start this with some audience participation here, is I want you to think about the network that you use the most. Just think about it. I don't care what the name is, I just want you to think about it for now. And just pick one if you can. Sometimes you might have a couple that you use, but if you just could pick one that your main focus is on, 50.1%, that's what it takes for you. Think of that one social network. Now, what I want you to do, and this is where I want you to talk to me, and again, I don't want the name, but I would like to know what it is. You could boil it down to one thing that social network does for you the best. What do you rely on it for? Izzy, in the back.
That's where my friends are.
Your friends. Great. So you stay connected to friends and family, right? Sounds good. Sounds like a good reason. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Information.
Getting information. Like news updates, that kind of stuff, on keeping connected with the world in general? Okay, I can hear that. Okay. Someone else, give me another reason you might use your favorite social network. Yes, sir.
We've already established and nurtured a community there.
Say that one more time, Joe.
I'm sorry, we've established and nurtured a community there.
Establish and nurture the community, and so you stay involved with it because you feel like you have to, or
No, just they're not using any other networks.
That's where your community is.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Got it. Good. Thank you. I thought about that. Quite a lot of the ones that I do here, if nobody else has anything else to throw into, is sometimes following brands and companies. That's a big thing for deals and coupons, things like that.
Easy to use and update.
What's that again?
Easy to use and update.
It's easy to use and it's easy to update. Okay, great. Those are all reasons. Here's a couple that I come up with, and when I think of my social network, gosh, I wonder what that is. It allows me to showcase my talents, set myself apart from the rest, or at least from some, and do that. Building support for my endeavors. Joe, you just mentioned building a community. I think that's very similar. Support the kinds of things that I think are very popular, or that I think are very important. And also not just sharing of information, which is a big deal, but it allows me to curate information, which I see is very different. If I curate information, I can quickly access that information as opposed to just sharing it out of my brain and it's all said and gone. And then also to teach and to inspire. So social networks can do all of these things. Probably not surprisingly to you, I think that I'm using my favorite social network to do most of those things on the back end. To me, it's not necessarily hanging out with friends. To me, it's not necessarily keeping up with all of the latest news and information that's out there, although there are ways to do that. Okay, so that's an interesting exercise to think about why we use social networks, and that starts to get you ahead of why I use Google Plus as a social network. Quick little baseline set. Google Plus is ostensibly a social network, and so by that means there are some things that are the same. Like you can follow people on Google Plus, except we call it circling, because we need a new verb. Following and friending doesn't work. We circle people. And you can make a post, which on Google Plus we call a post. Because what else would you call it? There's really nothing else that there would be. That's it. But then again, just about every social network lets us do that. Facebook lets us do that. Twitter lets us do that. I think the new MySpace uses. Does anybody use the new MySpace yet? Are musicians in the audience? All right. What's that?
Just a new one?
Totally redone. Yeah, all for music and stuff like that. So those basic levels are the same thing, but there's a lot of things that I think are very different. So the first one of those is, this is not a network of my friends. This is not a network of people that I know. Though I've made many friends, and now I know a lot of people. This is a network of primarily interests. Things that I am interested in. Not necessarily people I'm interested in, although the people are the ones who convey those interests to me. I mean, I just can't go follow an idea. I've got to follow people that talk about that ideas. But that's kind of the underlying principle for most of us that are hardcore Google Plus users. Since it is this network of interests, we typically tend to share those primary sets of interests. I have 3 primary sets of interests that I share on Google Plus. One of them is digital publishing. I talk a lot about digital publishing, and people turn to me expecting that to actually happen. I talk about science and skepticism a lot. I'm actively involved in that community in the Google Plus network. And I talk about craft beer, because I like to talk about that as much as I like to drink that. So those are the 3 things that I do primarily. And that's what people assume that I do primarily. So I don't stray too far afield from that. Sure, occasionally I'll post out on Saturday if Oklahoma's winning a good football game or something else along those lines. I don't feel constrained to those things. But that's what people have come to expect of me. And the people that I have circled, I kind of expect that same thing from them. I expect them to be consistent in their actions. And it's something that I didn't do a very good job of when I first got involved in social media. I was kind of all over the place. Clint, is 3 years ago you gave a talk about how to be a social media butterfly, I think was the topic. What was that? Puddle jumper. You're right, puddle jumper, right? And man, were we all doing that, right? You couldn't, no one knew you were the video guy because you were just being a dork on social media like the rest of us, right? So I've done all that kind of stuff, and I'm kind of done being a dork. Well, that's not true. I'm done promoting that dorkishness of me in my social circles, at least on Google+. What I really like about it is that long-form content is okay. Twitter, we're limited to 140 characters. Facebook, shorter posts just simply do better. Part of my job, in my day job, is I actually work social media for a variety of clients, and we know that shorter is better on all these things. Yeah, not so on Google+. Google+, longer form, not necessarily blog post form content, but longer form content is okay. Izzy, you mentioned earlier in one of the sessions that you like the fact that when I share stuff on Google+, I've got a couple of 3 paragraphs to add something to the conversation, right? And that's a big part of it. It's not just sharing out crappy links. It's about sharing why I think something is important. If in fact it's a video, if in fact it's a link, or maybe it's a complete and total original thought of mine. Longer 2, 3, 4 paragraph content stuff is not only okay, it actually performs better than just throwing out a quick little link. Which, if you're a wordy mother like I am, that's actually a good thing. Google Plus has built-in formatting. Very simple built-in formatting. Bold, italic, strike through. That's about it. Which, having part of my job is to teach authors, which oftentimes teaching authors what not to do. And let me tell you, simple formatting is oftentimes better. So you can't change in crazy fonts, and you can't do the blink tag, and you can't do all those things. But just simple, basic formatting is great, which is very important to convey a thought. Sometimes italics and bold really can help get that point across more, and you can easily do that in Google+, and you can't do that on Facebook. You won't. Everything's just simply text. There's really nothing else that you can do to it. It is a great tool for what I would call targeted sharing. Most of what I put out on Google Plus is all public. There's a lot of ways you can skin any sort of cat out there. For me, Google Plus primarily is public. However, that exact same tool can allow me to do very, very narrowly focused sharing. Like, let's say that I found an interesting, well, here's what I use it for. Let's not make something up. So part of my day job is I work for an advertising agency, and I direct a large media team there. I've stopped sending out emails when I find something interesting to my team. I now only send them notices on Google+. But I can do that and not pollute my own public feed, because trust me, you're never going to see me sharing SEO tactics with you on Google+. It's not going to happen. Unless, of course, you work for me, and then you will see that. But I can just put those people in. Can I do this in an email? Yes, I could, but I'm probably not on email. Email, I got to go copy a link and go and paste. Where on Google+, I can just grab that link. I can paste it into my Google+ post window. It automatically grabs an image from the post, assuming I use schema.org. It grabs the headline from the post, and it makes a very nice little package. And then I can write my 2 or 3 paragraphs, as I typically do, on top of it, and hit an update, and they all get notified about this. But you never are bothered because you're in my public stream, and I'm not sharing that kind of stuff publicly with the world. But for me, who has come into this idea that sharing Google+ is easy, I don't have to bounce back and forth between tools. It's very easy and simple for me to keep it very highly focused inside of it. In fact, I know some companies use Google+ as their intranet. A publicly available system. Anybody can access anything on Google+ that's shared publicly. Companies are now sharing stuff with employees via an intranet using Google+ circles. Highly focused circles that don't get shared out publicly. Could that information be shared beyond that? Of course it could, but so can the stuff on your internet. It's just a simple copy and paste in the email address, and you can get that. So it does really, I think, have the ability to do so. Much better than Facebook's targeted lists, or even using Twitter lists, or direct messages. It just does a better job of that. If you're trying to share things highly targeted, you can. Probably the best thing that I like about it, though, is that, it's what I wrote this. I thought this was very clever when I wrote it down, so I'm going to read it verbatim. Circle back, much like Nickelback, is not required. What I mean by that is, earlier on I said, I don't care if you get on Google+ because it won't impede my enjoyment whatsoever. By that same token, you do not get anything special if you circle me and I decide to circle you back. There is no benefit to you by having me circle you back. And that's very much different than other networks, right? On Twitter, for example, if I didn't follow Clintus, if he and I were not friends, let's follow on Twitter, right? If I didn't follow Clintus on Twitter, he could not send me direct messages, right? We all get that. That's one of the controls that Twitter gives. Well, Google+ doesn't really have a direct messages aspect of it, and it's not tied to whether or not we're circled together. On Facebook, if I issue a friend request to Chuck, then I can't see any of Chuck's comments. I can't see any of the stuff he is publishing until he approves that relationship, right? Not so on Google+. Things are done publicly. You get zero benefit from me circling you. You get all the benefit from you circling whoever. There's no limitations. You've got a certain number of people that you can follow a maximum. But if Neil deGrasse Tyson has 450,000 people following him, circling him on Google+, I'm not hitting some sort of a limit. They're all available, and I get all of the same content that I would regardless of what happens. It does not require a circle back, which is hugely liberating, because for those of us that played the game on Twitter and played the game on Facebook, where you're trying to follow back and friend back, whatever, it just gets terribly unwieldy. So that doesn't have to happen now, because your use of my content, your access to me is identical, regardless of what I decide to circle with you or not. Okay, a couple more things, and then I'll get into some negatory things, and been happy to answer some questions here too. So there's no edge rank in Google+, which is probably okay because most of you hate edge rank anyhow. Edge rank, if you don't know, it's what Facebook uses to figure out which of your status updates are going to go to people. However, not everything is an open wide fire hose on Google+. There is an algorithm that's at bay, but my money on algorithm development list is on Google over Facebook. Google's shown themselves pretty damn good at algorithm building for the last decade or so, so I think they'll do a really good job. But I don't rely completely on the algorithm. I can fine-tune my results. So when I put people into circles, it's called a circle because you can put more of them into it, I can tell Google I would like more or less from that particular circle. So for my science circle, it's cranked all the way to the more side. For my authors circle, it's kind of smack dab in the middle. And I have one called noisy authors, and that's all the way to the left. I don't, as little as possible, please, because Robert Scoble talks way too much. So I need that down. Yeah, on everything. It's all repeated stuff. So I have some control over that, right? I I can tell Google these are the circles that I care more about. And not in some weird rank these things from 1 to 10, just simply one of those 3 things. I want more from them, I want less from them, or just right smack dab in the middle and let it start adjusting things for you. Also, on top of that, there are a group of people, I think I have 14 right now. There are a group of people that I have circled in a special circle. You can have multiple, you can have the same person in multiple circles. I have one circle that says notify always. And every time those people post something on Google+, I get notification. And for me, that notification is my phone buzzes, I get a little red square on top of my computer, and I get sent an email. So be very selective with that, because guess who's not in that circle, Robert Scoble? But other people are that are putting stuff up that I constantly want to know. And because I keep it kind of small, sometimes I put somebody in there and I screwed up, because it wasn't, the last 3 posts were fantastic, but the other ones aren't so much, and I can just simply move them out and just put them back in the regular circle. I don't turn them off. I don't uncircle them. I just move them out of that notification only circle. So that works for me very well to stay up to date. So when I want to stay up with the latest news, I know these 14 people are the ones sharing that kind of news and information that I really care about. I know it's always going to be there. I like the mobile, the pics that I take from my phone are automatically loaded to Google+, but not shared publicly. They go into a photo uploads bucket, which makes it very easy for me to go through and share. Last month, it was my 2nd annual beer and sausage diet, where for the month of October, all of my calories came from either beer or sausage. No, I'm not kidding. I lost 18 pounds on that fantastic diet. But I took pictures, actually I took video of every beer, almost every beer, that I drank and many of the sausages that I was eating. And it automatically uploaded. So then when I went to make my Google Plus post about it later in the day, they were all sitting there in a Google Picasa web album. Very easy for me to get that information out, moved, and shared. So that's pretty slick. Invitations. I think Google Plus invitations beat the piss out of anybody else's invitations. Facebook's invitations are terrible, in my humble opinion, because you can't share them once they're done. They're just right. Google Plus invitations look good. They're highly functional. They are really the best ones, and I like the fact that they automatically integrate with Google Calendar. Unlike the way that the Facebook posts go, you can invite me to anything, and all those things crappily show up in my calendar. I don't like that at all. Much better control over the things I'm invited to. But probably the biggest reason that I like it, the thing that happens to me that I use the most, are Hangouts, which is a video recorded show, which you probably have seen. I love Hangouts. Hangout on air, everybody has access to that now, so I can broadcast a show, and anybody who wants to watch it can watch it while we're recording live. That video is then automatically uploaded to YouTube. We can pull it down from YouTube, do some nice little editing with it, and repost it. Everything's great and fine. Hangouts are very, very cool. Wonderful collaboration tool if you don't want to do an on-air public Hangout. There was a time last month where our office was closed for 2 weeks doing complete and total renovations. We had every team meeting done as a Google Hangout. Everybody had their laptops, pull them open, and we just had video conferencing that works. Google has a very robust network, surprise. It's a little more reliable than our friends at Skype. I think it's much better video quality. Everything just seems to work a whole lot better with it that way. And you can use the on-air to automatic recording. I'm re-podcasting now, I guess, because of the fact that I've got this video show that's automatically recorded. Yes, ma'am?
Last time I heard you present on Google Plus, it was limited to 10 people. Is that changed?
Regular Hangout is the private Hangouts together. I can only have 10 people collaborating in a room together, but I can say Google Hangout on air, and you and I could chat, and anybody could watch that chat happening. But only 10 people are allowed in participatory fashion. But as many viewers as you want for an on-air session, or as many viewers they want, not as you want, as they want to actually watch. For the geeks out there who are interested in some of the underpinnings, there's been a lot of talk as of late about authorship. Google cares about authorship. Google is figuring out who you are and the things that you're saying and the things that you own on the net. Google Plus ties in very centrally to Google's concept of authorship. So it's very smart to get on there, claim your profile, and also claim all of the places that you are publishing information. If you're working, if you are writing for other people's blogs, or you're writing for magazines that post things online, that if they're doing authorship properly, all of that cred, if you will, goes back up, rolls up in your Google Plus profile. So make sure you're getting your authorship right. Everything posted to Google Plus that goes publicly is by definition indexable by Google, and not surprisingly, Google likes to index those things pretty darn highly. It's hard for me to search on Google these days and not see Google Plus listings from people, because Google's good at figuring out what I want, and it's got a nice fat pipe right to Google Plus, because Google Plus and Google that line is blurring every single day. And speaking of that, yeah, that's kind of, to me, the real big factor here is Google Plus is Google. It's not Google's social network. It's becoming Google. Everything that they do, from Hangouts and all the stuff that I've talked about, to local, to their purchase of Zagat, so they've got local ratings and reviews, to maps, to calendar, to email. Every single Google app is in the process of being rolled up into this new thing called Google Plus. That's why it's not called Google Social Network. It could have been called Google Next, but that sounds too close to Google Wave, which was terrible. So Google Plus is really the future of Google, tied into everything. So if you're betting, like I am, that for the foreseeable future, Bing is not going to outpace Google, read ever, probably makes good sense to start thinking about it from that point of view. I've got 2 more sections in here, and I'm definitely looking for questions. I want to talk about why it may not be for you, and then give you some very specific tips. So, as cool as it is, for me personally, it definitely may not be for you. And in fact, for some of the things that I do, it doesn't work all that well. So one of my many projects, I run an audiobook distribution service called audiobooks.com. We give away serialized audiobooks recorded by the authors. And every day, well, the new numbers are pretty crazy, about 100,000 episodes of our books are downloaded every day, which is kind of mind-boggling. So I've got a pretty wide range of people out there who listen to these books. I've got 600 titles available by a couple hundred authors, and many of these authors get that social media is important, and so they're out there talking about stuff, and they're doing it. We've got a Facebook page, and we've got a Google Plus presence as well, because you can have Google Plus for business pages. When I mentioned something like last week, I put a post out on both of them that was kind of equal. It said, basically, I just paid my authors every month. I pay them, they get 75% of all the monies that we get. So I just wrote a whole bunch of checks to authors, and I don't think this is ever getting old. So that was a message that went out on Google Plus and on audiobooks.com's Facebook page, both from the brands page. Facebook page, last I counted, there were like 36 plus ones, tons of comments, everybody loved it. Google Plus, crickets. I got 1 share.
Facebook.
No. Facebook, I got 30 some odd pluses and comments. On Google Plus, I got, not plus ones, I got thumbs up, you're right. I got 30 thumbs up, and I got 0 plus ones, or 1 plus 1. So why? What's the difference? Well, the why is that, we've been building audiobooks.com for the last 8 years, and most of those authors have grown up building a rabid fan base on Facebook. There's lots of crazy fanish people, whatever you want to call them, on Facebook, and that they haven't made that transition over to Google Plus yet. So even though I'm trying, and I've got a few new listeners from over there, I would be foolish to abandon Facebook, because that's really important for the audiobooks.com side of my business. So you may be in a similar information, or a similar situation. Also, if you want local info, if you want to find out what's happening in the Phoenix scene, skip it. Because there is no Phoenix scene on Google Plus. I'm not sure there's any local scene on Google Plus right now. It is not the place for local information, not that I have found it. Even when I travel to other cities, I'll still get more responses for a, hey, who's free for dinner tomorrow night, on Facebook or on Twitter, than I will on Google Plus. It just does not seem to be the spot for local news and information. And that's okay, because the network I'm trying to build now is by no means local. It's much more, it's international more than anything else. And also friends and family, which was mentioned earlier by Israel Hyman. No, friends and family, at least my friends and family, my family is certainly not there, and not most people that I would consider real-world friends. But that's okay, because that's what Facebook is for. Or that's what Twitter is for, or that's what going to events like this are for, just hanging out. I don't need to replicate my real world with my virtual world, nor do I need just another replacement model for what I'm already getting out of Facebook.
So then you don't think Google Plus is a replacement for Facebook?
Certainly not. It was never designed to be a replacement for Facebook.
Well, don't you think for families it can, if you get all your families on to do family video conferencing across several
Sure.
applications?
It has all of the trappings to do all the things that they could. Certainly can, right? It's just that Facebook started first and they've got a massive penetration on it. I honestly don't think they're going to break that anytime real soon. But by all means, if you've got, kids are scattered four corners of the wind and you want to get to for Christmas and nobody can, man, Hangout's a great way to do that sort of stuff. Certainly is. Okay, I got tips and then we'll fire it off for just tons of questions here because we got 15 minutes left over. So here are tips. If you're going to jump in, I wasn't even trying to convince you, but if you have been convinced by what I'm talking about here, there's a plugin for Chrome called Do Share, D-O Share. Just like all the other ones, Google doesn't allow you yet to schedule your postings. Right? It doesn't let you do that. And Hootsuite and other sorts of applications that you can get for free to manage your social networks don't yet integrate with Google+. Or if they do integrate with Google+, you've got to pay money for that, so you probably don't want to do that. So Do Share, great little Chrome browser plug-in. You can type your update at 6 o'clock in the morning. If you don't want that to go until noon, that's what you tell Do Share to do. Be advised, though, this is a Chrome plug-in. It is local on your computer. If I set up Do Share to send something and I close my computer and go to work, it's not going to go anywhere because Chrome's closed. It's not running at that time. But it's very handy. It integrates perfectly well. I'm in the middle of typing a post at 5:30 in the morning, and there are two buttons when I'm done with that post. One of them says send, and the other one says send to Do Share. And I go, oh yeah, maybe 5 a.m. is not the right time for me to send out this message, especially if it's a third one that I've sent out at 5 a.m. I can stagger them throughout the day. Do Share is very handy. If you're going to do Hangouts, there is a series of plugins you can get. One of them is called Lower Third, and Lower Third puts the little title bar. Is that what that's called, the title bar? Across the bottom, so you can put your name and your URL or whatever else you want to. Very handy so that if somebody stumbles into a Hangout, like I jumped into a Hangout yesterday afternoon, and I knew a couple of people in there, but I didn't know the rest of them. So without having to hover my mouse over the little square at the bottom of the Hangout to see who somebody is, and even that's only their name, that little bar is across the bottom, which makes it very nice for personal branding and your little message below that one. So definitely get Lower Third. Also, if you're going to do a help, yes, I'm sorry, Joe.
So you just said you could have stumbled into a Hangout, right? Do they have, not like chat roulette, but is there like, just imagine,
Kind
right?
of kick somebody out, throw your ass.
Hey, that's their growth plan.
Yeah.
Is there like a directory of Hangouts? If there's like interesting stuff.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you can click on there's a Hangout button over there, shows you what's live now and various things like that. You can see what's happening. It can tell you who your friends are. But honestly, it's not very good, to be honest. And there are a lot of them that are happening at any given moment, so it would be difficult for them. I see their challenges. They've slowly been getting better. What it does do a good job of telling me is when my friends, people that I've circled, are joining Hangouts, I get notification. Well, I don't get a notification, but my sidebar will show me that that's actually been happening. So speaking of Hangouts, we'll stay with that for a minute. If you're going to do a scheduled one, especially if you're being interviewed on a Hangout, which I love doing, if you know ahead of time you're going to get involved with a Hangout, reboot your computer, especially if you're using Chrome. They can be a little bit of a resource hog, and you'll avoid some of the challenges that you face. I reboot every single week before we get on and do our Thursday night show. It just saves a whole lot of headache from problem. But I think that's more of a Chrome issue than it's actually a Google issue. Also, speaking of Hangouts, please, for the love of all that is holy, mute yourself when you're not talking. More importantly, mute yourself when you're typing. We hosted a Hangout training session at my office, and the guy was in South Carolina, and I put a small video camera up here connected to my laptop, and all my folks are sitting out here, and we're all looking up at the screen, and he's back there, and he's asking questions, and it was a writing workshop. So he's asking questions, and then he's got this, on the screen shared below, he's got a Google Doc opened up. And so people are shouting out, and he's typing out what it is that they're saying. And I couldn't see exactly from the angle, but I'm pretty sure that he had cast iron gauntlets on his hands, or was using a machine gun to do his typing. It was the loudest thing ever. So mute yourself when you're not talking, and even better, put headphones in. Everyone's got a pair of headphones from their mobile phone or whatever they're using, iPod. Use those when you're listening. That'll stop any feedback from actually happening through. It won't stop the typey noise, but it will stop feedback if you have to crank it up loud like you can't hear it because you're me. So headphones in and mute yourself is really good. As I mentioned, I think you could stop emailing people links. I think you can. I've been trying it for a little over a month in my office, and I think I'm going to expand it out to the rest of the world too. Because I can actually send an email from within Google+, but it's better than links because of all the things I mentioned earlier. It pulls an image, it pulls a headline, it pulls a body copy, and it just kind of compels you to say something as opposed to, hey, here's a nifty link, forward, 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 forward. It kind of stops that kind of crap from happening. Last two things, you should definitely go connect your YouTube profile to your Google Plus account, because when you do Hangouts on air, it'll automatically upload video. You can also upload video straight from, not even in a Hangout, you can record video from Google Plus. If you just want to, we've had something real fast and not everybody watch it live, you can record a video very nicely. Those two integrate nicely. And the last part is, you probably haven't done this on your other networks, but please fill out your profile. Give us a little bit of information about you. Don't be a bluehead. Which is when you haven't filled anything out at all. Just put a picture up there. There's lots of things you can play with. Write a description that's kind of long. Tell me who you are, what you're into, why it's worth me circling you. Maybe, just maybe, I will. And that's it. All right. Why am I here?
Are there vanity URLs? Not yet.
Yes, but you're not going to get one because I don't have one yet. Ultimately, they're rolling them out. I don't have one yet. I have 13,000 people that have circled me. I don't have one yet. Not that I'm bitter. They are in the process of doing that. They just have not yet. Well, not for normal schmoes like us. So, yeah, I don't have one.
There's an outfit that has, like, they'll give you one that's not.
It's not legit. It's not from Google. What you want is google.com/evoterra. That's what I'm looking for. You know, the plus on
Google
Google.com.
doesn't even have those for employees.
Well, they do. You can get vanity URLs for Google Plus profiles. They do have them, but you've got to have a verified profile and meet some other certain threshold marks today. They are rolling it out to everybody. I just don't know exactly when it's going to happen.
There's been rumors that the CIA owns a good share of Google.
You did hear me mention skepticism earlier, right?
Getting into Google and using all the collected features that are all tied together, what concerns do you have about privacy, especially from the government?
Well, I'm going to ignore the last part because it shouldn't matter. But what concerns do I have about privacy? None. 15 years ago, when the CEO of Sun Microsystems said, "Your privacy is an illusion, get over it," and I did. I don't have privacy concerns. I'm glad people are out there like EFF and Cory Doctorow and some other fighters out there to make sure that there are some constraints about it. I can't worry about it. So I don't. So far I haven't been burned. So I'm okay with it. What are you concerned about? What are you doing you don't want the CIA to know about?
Nothing I put on the line.
There you go. I don't have any concerns, and I don't think the CIA owns half of Google. I'd like to see something called evidence about that.
So you have concerns that they haven't really made any major updates in, like, it's almost been a year.
What are you talking about? Google Plus?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Google Plus makes updates every other day.
Yeah, but they're like little things like little buttons and
Major.
Are you watching that space closely?
not real close, but I do
Try
tune in.
because they're putting quite a few updates out.
It's
on
a
this.
major.
There's that, and yeah. So I don't worry about that too much.
Does the verified name make a difference when people circle you?
Say that one more time.
The verified name.
Yeah, right. Does it make a difference to me if someone has circled me?
When you want to circle somebody, if they say, "Oh, the name is verified,"
Sure, right.
Does that make a difference?
It doesn't to me. I mean, yeah, there's really, the only reason they did that is to stop people from having fake profiles, right? So, like, if you're Will Wheaton, for example, you can go make anything you want to. But that way they can verify, they contact him, he sends his ID and pictures, and they get something and say, yep, that's really you. So I may have more confidence in circling someone who's been verified if they're a public figure as opposed to somebody who is not. That's really all that's trying to do, just verify who people are. To me, it's not a big factor of I must have to follow them. Yes, ma'am.
Funny thing, earlier this week somebody I know sent me a message, I guess it was through Google Plus. I'm not on Google Plus, but so they'd like to be in contact with me on Google Plus.
Sure.
I tried to sign up, it refused me.
What'd you do?
I
Why
tried,
doesn't it like you?
because my email has a business name. It's showing you Edgeport Productions
Good.
background.
Yep.
It wouldn't let me on. It says, see administrator.
Yep.
Something hooked on that one. So
Do you have a Gmail address?
Well, I do also, but that was what it contacted me through.
what you need to do is just connect those two together. I mean, I would not create a secondary profile. Go to your Gmail account, try and get to Google Plus, get logged on, and then in your profile it can say what other email addresses do you own.
Oh, okay.
And that's what you want to do, because the last thing you want to do is have 17 different ones. That takes a long time to clean that one up. So yeah, let your Google Plus profile know about all possible email addresses, whether they're Yahoo account, AOL account, or domain.com accounts. It really doesn't matter.
I haven't looked at it in a while, so this is an ignorance question. But
That's
are there
okay.
analytics capabilities? Can you see how many people saw it and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, they have this thing called ripples, and ripples are pretty nifty. It doesn't necessarily show you how many people saw it, but what ripples do is shows you how it's being shared out and around. So if you write a really compelling post that has 27 people have +1, but another 14 have actually shared, you can see how that share happens, and it shows a nice graphical representation of that fact. If you include an image, you can kind of the backdoor way to find out how many people actually viewed your post, because Picasso Web will show you how many times that image was downloaded, how many times it was viewed, not downloaded, but viewed. So if you go to your post and you put the image in there, you go back and you say there's 475 people that saw this image, that means that it was rendered that many times, so you can get into it. There's another service called CircleCount.com, which is sort of not really affiliated with Google. It'll give you some better insight and metrics about what time of day you're doing a good job, all the things you'd expect to see, how your circle growth has changed over time, how many people have you circled that are sharing you with other networks, so lots of other personal info in that one. CircleCount.com for good info. Yes?
If you had to summarize Google Plus into 1 to 3 words, what would they be?
Really awesome. No, I'm not going to do that. Sum it up into 1 or 3 words. My social network, I guess, is the simplest way to do that. I mean, it's a social layer that lays on everything else that I do inside of Google. It's not a destination that I go to. Oh, time to do Google Plus. It's pervasive for everything that I do through the day, which makes it hard to think about. I need to find the 3 words.
Finally, there's control. Control license.
Should I assume this would be your blog? Or would this be your blog? Or
Yeah, I've stopped blogging for all points and purposes. I do it occasionally, but almost everything I do now goes to Google Plus. There are advantages to doing a blog, especially if you're blogging. You can have multiple pictures, and you have more control over links and various things. But I wasn't using those features for my blog most of the time anyhow. So, I can have a few hundred people reading my blog, or I've got 13,000 people that I'm circling on Google Plus. So I'm going with the tonnages, and those are cultivated too, right? So they're not just random. Yes, Joe.
2 questions.
Yep.
Is Google friendly with data export? I know that was a concern several years ago. Like data export, can you see your posts and do stuff with them?
No.
Okay.
You can't do any of that that I'm aware of.
I'm trying to do that.
Yeah, they don't have an API that's hooked up to it yet. I mean, there is an API, but it's not a publicly accessed API. I think Hootsuite is on. There's like 6 or 7 vendors that that can do stuff. But yeah, there's no export data from Google Plus. That is now from. It's built into Google, so you can go into your Google dashboard and they'll give you lots of information. But as far as a way to go export your posts, like you might on a WordPress blog, if you want to switch to Drupal or whatever, I don't think it can do that. I've never tried. Okay. I don't want to say no, but
I think they have a read-only API.
probably not.
Yeah. The API is read-only right now.
Is it? Yeah, unless you pay for
It doesn't let you do that.
Yeah. Then again, as often as Twitter crashes, I don't, begrudge them holding back on API access a little bit more.
Well, also, what are 3 things that annoy you about Google Plus about other users?
People who think that it's Facebook. People who say it's a wasteland or a ghost town when they followed only 57 people, and it's the exact same 57 people that they follow on Facebook, of which none of them are actually active. For instance. So those are the 2 big ones. So is there a third thing that always when people think about Google Plus? No, just those 2. I don't have a third thing. I try to get annoyed very much anymore. Not keep my blood pressure.
So the auto photo and video upload?
Yeah.
Auto uploads, you said it's not public.
It is not public. It goes into my uploads folder, and then I can I can choose to make all or some of those.
Is that folder by default private? Or did you
By
set
default,
that?
and I cannot make that folder public.
Okay, so it's
There is no, I can't screw up and say, oops, and then let's go to party, right? No, none of that can happen. I have to manually choose things to share,
okay.
and I cannot make that folder public.
And is there a size limit on the number of photos? I mean, like, you have a 5 gig limit, or there's no?
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, 'cause I was shooting, all that video just came at the highest res on my phone possible. Shot 6, whatever. Is there? And remember, this is really the back end is one of two things. It's a YouTube back end or it's a Picasso web, back end. And so whatever their limitations are, I'm assuming would
You know what,
carry through.
if you upload to Picasso Web, there's a limit, but if you upload to Google Plus, there doesn't appear to be a limit.
Yeah, I haven't encountered one. So
Even though they're shared, actually the same thing.
if there is a limit, I haven't encountered.
Because I'm kind of looking for a Flickr replacement.
I am too. I've stopped. Mine is up tomorrow, and I'm not renewing. I've already pulled all my photos down and shoved in Picasso Web. Here's the danger, though, Video Boy. The images, the videos also upload to Picasso Web, and Picasso Web does not easily allow you to download your videos.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the
All right, good, yeah.
video stuff. I was more about the photos.
Yeah, it's fine as Flickr replacement for storage of photos. I think it's fine. Still, I haven't found one that can help me actually do searching now. I mean, the search is. I love Flickr's search. I love Google to show me Creative Commons license things that I can build upon and get it. Nobody else has done that yet. I wish Google would, but they
Well,
haven't.
it's good to know about the privacy thing. That's one reason why I didn't turn mine on.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, it's private. Yeah, give it a shot.
And then, you mentioned scheduled hangouts. Did you mean like you have a schedule like me and him go at 1 o'clock? Or did you actually? Do you know what ability to actually schedule a hangout on Google?
I can schedule a hangout on Google. Now, that Google will not. I mean, the hangout will not automatically start. I have to push all the buttons, but I can let people know that like every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time, so that's 7 our time, I have a regularly scheduled on-air hangout that I do that you can watch called the Books of Beer Hangout.
Okay, so now if you click on that link, you do that post.
It's in there. It's all embedded nicely. Its video is better. If you go in early, it says it hasn't started yet. If you come in 5 minutes later, it starts playing automatically.
Would you mind afterwards showing me?
Sure.
Because I thought I did that one time and it didn't work.
Yeah, I will tell you that's the one thing that we can't make work half the time either. But I think I think I know why we're doing it wrong. But yeah, we have to share that around.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
If you successfully set up an event on Google Plus,
Okay.
but not for the hangout, just the
Just an event, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
locally here or just across the.
No, it's a virtual event. I haven't, although it does have the ability to put in ticket sales and locations and all these things, but I've only ever done it. I use it for book launches all the time to announce that there's a launch happening for a book. I've seen it for some local events, so yeah, it will accommodate those things for any type of event, much like you would for. I think where it works better than Facebook's event planning is that it supports virtual events much better than Facebook does, and it supports physical events too, and it looks better. Yes.
Okay, so how does the Hangouts, like video Hangouts, is there any ability of sharing like desktop?
Yeah, you can share desktop. You can share things on Google Docs. You can share those. You can share screen share Google Docs, and there's a couple of other features. You can share a video. You can watch that. You can upload a presentation, I believe, and see that. There's quite a few extended shares that you can get to, not just, hey, 2 dorks and 2 video cameras. You can actually pull up some other stuff and share that as well. Songs, I think, can be out there as well. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yes, sir.
Why do you think the press has been so negative about Google Plus? And you continually see articles saying it's a waste, anybody's using it, but it seems to me like quite a few.
Yeah, there are quite a few people on. I think because they're looking for a Facebook replacement, and Facebook is really good about making lots of noise, and Google hasn't been about Google Plus. And I think a lot of it has been also, the press has been largely burned from Google products. Google Wave, anyone? Terrible. There have been lots of failures that go with this one here. It didn't automatically get 1 billion users like Facebook has right now. And so I think there's just looking at a sheer numbers game. But when you start peeling apart the numbers and figure out who is on it, and now with some of the questions right now concerning those 1 billion users Facebook had, which I think about 2/3 are fake, I think that's going to come to light a little bit more as things happen. So the press is pretty negative on it. It's totally true, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's kind of kept everybody from making it into Facebook too, which I hope never actually happens. What else? Because it's officially 3:45. So I guess we're done then. All right, everybody. Thank you very much.
Sitting out.